Please allow me to introduce myself and my most esteemed colleagues. My name is Dimitar Keranov, and I'm working at the Central Europe program in our organization. I would also like to introduce Veronika Zimova, who is the key coordinator for continuous programming, as well as Joanna Kopacka, who is covering Poland in this program. Just very briefly regarding the organization of this information session. In the first 20 to 30 minutes, we would like to provide you with an overview and introduction into the SURF program, the Transatlantic Foundation, our work in Central Europe, and especially into the 3 open calls for proposals, what we have, and also introduce you to certain technical details which are specific to these grants. And after a good half an hour, we would like to simply open the Q&A session and provide you with the opportunity to ask questions. We will try to answer those questions according to our best knowledge. Covering 8 countries with this program, they're Poland, Czechia, Hungary, Slovakia, Romania, Bulgaria, Croatia, and Slovenia. Within the program, there's the possibility to submit the applications in all of these national languages and also obviously in English. Unfortunately, due to certain logistical constraints, we cannot offer this information session in all of the national languages, so it will be held in English. Against that background, please feel free to ask your questions in the English language. The event will be recorded because obviously for information purposes, we would like to upload the video to our YouTube page, but the question and answer part will obviously not be recorded as to allow a free exchange of information and questions. As I already mentioned, PROTEUS is part of the EU SURF program, which stands for Citizens, Equality, Rights and Values. And this is a directly managed and funded programming by the European Commission designed to support equality in the European Union, citizen engagement and participation, fight violence, and to promote the union values. And PROTEUS is practically belonging to this union values part of the SURF programming and was selected last year as a re-granting mechanism to support civil society organizations in the 8 project countries I mentioned earlier. In accordance with the goals set for the SURF programming, the main aim is to strengthen civil society organizations so that they're able to protect, promote, and raise awareness of European values and fundamental rights. Above all, that's democracy, the rule of law, human rights, equality of men and women, non-discrimination of persons belonging to minorities. We would like to achieve this overall aim I mentioned with the help of 2 toolkits. One is grant making in the program countries, and the second one is offering tailored capacity building to civil society organizations with the help of our national implementation partners. We can just summarize the program objectives thematically in 4 categories. That's supporting democratic participation, public deliberation and inclusion, strengthening civil society organization resilience to shrinking space, protecting and promoting EU values and fundamental rights with a special focus on peripheral and rural areas, and supporting civic activism in peripheral and rural areas. Please also allow me to say a couple of words about the Transatlantic Foundation. program is running under the label of the Transatlantic Foundation, but you can access practically all of the information on the website of the German Marshall Fund of the United States. The explanation is very simple. The Transatlantic Foundation is the European EU registered arm of the German Marshall Fund of the United States, headquartered in Brussels, and based on the agreement between the two organizations, those two legal entities, the Transatlantic Foundation is trading as the German Marshall Fund of the United States. So that is the reason you can access the information, or potentially the call for proposal information is distributed by the German Marshall Fund social media accounts. I would like to also mention more on our local implementation partners, which continuously provide the local knowledge and are also primarily responsible for the capacity building work packages in PROTEUS. So if you think you might be interested aside of applications to grant making in participating in various capacity building programs, or would like to receive capacity building support, please contact our national implementation partners in the countries, and they will be happy to inform you about the opportunities they offer. Now I would like to tell you more about the 3 open calls for proposals, which, as you can see, are enhancing participation of women in political and policy processes, enhancing participation of vulnerable groups in political and policy processes, and supporting the social involvement of children and young people. So the first call, enhancing participation of women in political and policy processes through awareness raising and advocacy. So here the objective is to empower women's participation in civil society, politics, and public life. The eligible countries, as you can see, are Bulgaria, Croatia, Czechia, Hungary, Poland, Romania, Slovakia, and Slovenia. You can also see on the screen the total budget. So concerning the budget, we're obviously striving to reach a certain geographical balance when it comes to grant decisions and the distribution of the funds. But obviously, it is also influenced by the number of applications we receive from the individual program countries, as well as the quality of the applications. The eligible activities under this call are enhancing public participation of women through awareness raising and advocacy or educational campaigns, boosting and innovating civic engagement of women at the local, regional, or national level, also reaching out to new constituencies, attracting new activists, mobilizing constituencies in a sustainable way, and of course, furthering cross-sectoral cooperation of civil society organizations and strengthening networks of pro-democratic actors. Regarding the second call, which is on enhancing participation of vulnerable groups in political and policy processes through awareness raising and advocacy, you can see the objective again is to empower participation of vulnerable groups in civil society, politics, and public life. The eligible countries are again the 8 program countries: Bulgaria, Croatia, Czechia, Hungary, Poland, Romania, Slovakia, and Slovenia. Again, you can see on the screen the budget. Here, the eligible activities are on enhancing public participation of vulnerable groups through awareness raising, advocacy, or educational campaigns. Again, boosting and innovating civic engagement of these groups at local, regional, or national level. Reaching out to new constituencies, mobilizing those constituencies in a sustainable way, and furthering cross-sectoral cooperation of civil society organizations. And the third call, supporting the social involvement of children and young people through democracy education and participation-based model projects. Here, the objective is to foster the social involvement of children and young people through democracy education and participation-based model projects. Again, the eligible countries, you can see Bulgaria, Croatia, the Czech Republic, Hungary, Poland, Romania, Slovakia, and Slovenia. And again, the budget you can see on the screen. So here, activities are concentrated on offering age-specific participation-based democracy education projects for children or young adults, fostering grassroots democratic processes for the representation of student interests within schools and beyond, also creating networks of democratic youth groups for coordination, joint activities, and development of a shared democratic agenda, and amplifying the voice of democratic youths through online and offline campaigns, also amplifying the voice of students in the process of education-related decision-making at school, local, regional, or national level, and of course enhancing the democratic and civic skills of children and young adults through community development-oriented volunteering and internship programs. So those are our calls for proposals for which you can submit your applications by midnight of November 1st. And now I would like to give the floor to my colleague, Veronika Zimova, who will introduce you to the technical details of the application process. So, Veronika, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for changing the slide as well. So it's really nice to see all of you in such a great number. First, I would like to thank Dimitar for the thorough introduction of our calls. Please, if you have any questions, you can post them in the chat, and Jorna will try to answer them. All questions which will not be answered, we will address them during the Q&A session. But let me move to the eligibility criteria. So who can apply? So all non-profit making civil society organizations and NGOs established in one of the 8 project countries we mentioned earlier. The project duration can be between 6 to 18 months, and the location should be in one of the project countries or more. We also encourage cross-border activities with partners from other EU member states or non-EU countries. Single country can apply for budget of 10,000 to 25,000 euros, and cross-border projects of multiple applicants can apply for 10,000 up to 40,000 euros. As this is a project co-funded by European Union, we put high emphasis on compliance with the rights and values under the EU treaties and the Charter of Fundamental Rights. And I would like to bring your attention that for this reason, co-finance of any other EU-funded projects is not eligible. So please pay attention to that, because even in the past experience, we had to sadly exclude some of the applications. Of course, you can apply with projects which build on top of the EU-funded projects, so that's all right, but it needs to be clearly defined in your application. Next slide, please, Dimitar. Dimitar already mentioned the submission deadline, which is midnight, November the 1st. In your application package, please submit the application form and budget form, both in Word and PDF format. Please don't forget about the declaration of honor, and should you involve children in your activities, please share your child protection policy as well. All this whole package, email to engage our email address, engagingce@gmfus.org. And I would really appreciate if you could use the call reference number in the subject line of your email, because this helps us a lot to separate each applications according to the different calls. Thank you. Next slide. Now, I would like to share some tips and tricks for the application form and later for the budget. Like the best advice is that please pay attention to the logic of your intervention throughout the application form. Make sure that your overall goal is compliant with the objective of the call. Then break down this call to specific objective or objectives, those into activities, and the activities into results. I would like to kindly ask you to pay special attention to the results because these results are reported to EU. And we ask all of you to define at least one or two qualitative results and later quantitative results. These quantitative results are predefined by the European Commission, so you have to report on them. Of course, if one of these quantitative results is not applicable to your activity, feel free in the application form put a zero, but try at least meet one or two qualitative results. And you also have the possibility to define your own results on top of these. Thank you. Next slide. Now, about the budget, I would like to just point out two important parts. First, about the personal cost, we ask you to clarify the level of engagement of your project staff. So it can be full time, part time, or less. So please define the percentage. When it comes to definition of the unit, I would advise you in case of employees of your organizations to use the definition of a month, and in case of trainers, experts, or other one-time hires, use the unique definition of a day. And when we go to the price per unit, please keep in mind that you need to put the total labor cost, not the gross salary of your employees. This especially applies to employees because as an employer, you have the obligation to pay the mandatory contributions such as health insurance, social insurance, etc. So even these contributions of yours are eligible. So we don't want you to lose any money. So concentrate on the total labor cost. And just a quick example, let's say your employee works part-time, so 50% on the project. So the unit definition would be a month, and the price per unit would be 50% of the total labor cost for the month. Then just a quick note on administrative cost. So the maximum administrative cost is 7% of the total requested grant. So not the project budget, but the grant amount. And we would like to kindly ask you to budget your accountants and financial managers under the administrative costs and not the personal costs. Thank you. Next slide. Your projects will be evaluated based on 11 award criteria. The maximum score is 42 points and the eligibility threshold is 25. Each award criteria has different weight, but all of them are important for us. What I would like to point out though is the relevance of the action. So make sure that your project meets the objective of the call. We also really appreciate innovative approaches, but we also like to see project activities based on your long-term experience and lessons learned. So you don't need to innovate for just sake of innovation. If you have something which has been working for ages as it's working now, then go for it. And another really important award criteria is, of course, the budget and the relevance of the cost. Next slide, please. A short timeline. Again, so the deadline for submission of your applications is 1st of November. We will start the evaluation of your application straight away over the period of November and January till January 2024. The results will be published on our PROTEUS website second half of January 2024. And from there, we would move on into signing the grant agreement. and the funding will have a form of one-time payment after the signing of the grant agreement. That means that you will get the whole grant at the start of the project. Thank you.